Hello and welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. I'm Eric. We're just passing opening day. Today is,
I'm Lee.
Oren.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Sam.
and we're now 2 games into a 162 game season. So now we're going to probably spend the next hour overreacting to everything we've just seen and then realize how silly all of this was a month ago. Um, but first, we have somebody who can actually went investigative reporting. Sam went to the Royals opening day. I'm jealous.
Yeah, sure did. Opening day 2025 was a lot of fun. Had a friend of mine call me up the night before the game and just asked me if I wanted to go, and of course I did. And so went to the game, and then my mom just so happened to also be going with some friends of hers, and so that was very nice to get together with my mom and my friend David, and had a really nice time. Partook in some Kansas City barbecue. Got
Can't
some
hate it.
got a very nice little opening day fridge magnet there.
Very nice.
So what's the name of this fella, Dan?
That's Slider.
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 So we got Slugger and Slider here on this little opening day
Cute.
mascot magnet. So quite nice. Um, and yeah, was a good time. Did some tailgating. Did some of this and saw some of the new stuff at the stadium. So a lot of fun. Results of the game notwithstanding, good time. So
So when you go or when anyone goes to a game, are you the type that you buy the ticket and sit in that seat, or you just like standing room only and just wander?
the tickets that my friend got were from his work, and they were all the way in the last, like the second to last row, in the upper deck behind home plate. Um, and so we hung out there for maybe an inning or two, and then walked around a little bit. But my mom was sitting behind in right field, kind of behind the bullpen, next to the bullpen in right field, and some of the people who were sitting next to her left. So after we walked around a little bit, we sat down and watched most of the game from back there. So
Nice. That was kind of for the group too. Does because I like the standing room only ticket and then just bounce around from seat to seat, and by the end you're basically above the first base dugout because nobody's watching. Security isn't watching anymore. But
Yeah, one of the good things about the Sox Park and about low attendance in general is you can kind of move up pretty far. So yeah, I normally wind up in better seats than I get, but if it's a marquee matchup like Cubs Sox game or Yankees are in town or something, then you might have to spring for a little better seats.
My dad has really good stories of, 30 years of poor baseball here in Cleveland from the 60s to the 80s, going to Old Cleveland Municipal Stadium, which was 70,000 seats because the Browns played there too. And just being able to buy a ticket 5 minutes before the game for super cheap and then sit in the second row kind of stuff. Just because the place was so empty all the time.
When
Harder to
we
do that these days. Me personally, it depends on who I'm going with. If I go by myself, which I'll do sometimes because I work so close to the ballpark, just decide someday I want to go if I get out at a certain time. I might just get a standing room and kind of see what I can work out. But if I'm going with others, usually we're sticking to our seats for the most part.
Yeah, I usually go with my dad or with my dad and the rest of my family because also I am a poor grad student, so I can't buy tickets on my own a lot. So, but my dad will usually shell out for like good tickets along the first base or third base line behind the dugouts and stuff. Those are pretty fun. Otherwise, sometimes we usually would go on the upper deck along first base side, but we usually go for pretty good seats because, especially because well, the last few years the Tigers are kind of stunk. So by the time it gets to summer and I would actually be in town to be able to go, the Tigers are like out of it by then, and so we could get good seats for cheap.
yeah, can't hate it. No, I mean the closest stadiums I have right now are Yankee Stadium, which I like to go in, and anything bought a Yankees hat. Well, I don't own a Yankees hat anyway, but it is kind of fun just going around. And as much as I despise Yankee fandom, like for the most part, they're all right. They're just fans. They're like for them to see a Byron Buxton jersey or a Royce Lewis jersey, they're kind of like, oh, they those fans do exist. But it is kind of fun. They have a museum over there. I need to get to City Field. Haven't gone there yet for whatever reason, but one day we'll get there. But
City
anyway,
Field is cool.
as I about to say, I'm excited for it.
I haven't been to new or old Yankee Stadium, but I've been to the new City Field, and it's cool.
I don't like Yankee Stadium. It's just corporate. There's no soul to it. It's just blah. So I'm
Yeah,
not a
it
fan.
was. I've been there. I mean, it was a field trip in ninth grade, and like to be fair, it was also my experience was also mitigated by the fact that it was April, it was raining, and the Tigers were losing. But like we also kind of didn't really have good seats in the first place because it's again the field trip thing. But it was kind of everything was super overpriced, and it was just it's just like a default
At Yankee
stadium.
Stadium,
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. But also keep in mind I was like 14, so I'm like, wow, $10, that's a lot of money. So, but
I mean, this is probably the case in all stadiums, but like at least I'll get a beer when I'm at Yankee Stadium, and they're like 12, $14. Don't get me wrong, they're still expensive, but they're at least a 24-ounce can, so you only need one of them a game anyway. So like at least it kind of balances out. But yeah, it's not. Those prices are definitely steep. But what do you do? Anyway, it was opening day the last couple games. We had one team, one Central series with with Cleveland and Kansas City. Uh, how Sam and Dan, how are you feeling about your teams after splitting the series so far? And they play this afternoon.
Yeah, they'll get rolling here in just about 15 minutes from where we're recording. It's a mixed bag. I mean, the series is split 1-1 right now. I've been a little bit pleasantly surprised. It's only been 2 games, but our offenses look pretty good so far. 7 runs in game 1, 4 in game 2. Not scoring 12 or anything like that, but come out, faced a couple good pitchers, and have put up some numbers. So got that going for us. The bullpen kind of gave it up yesterday a little bit, but in general, decent start to the year. We'll kind of try to win the rubber match today, and hopefully feel a little bit better about ourselves from there.
And actually, I did forget one thing. So, Dan, before, not to cut you off, Sam, but before, Cleveland has a bit of a scare because yesterday, trying to steal, Jose Ramirez slid awkwardly into second base and is now day to day with a sprained wrist. So, how bad is the sky falling, Dan, in Cleveland?
So everything I just said about the offense, I guess, is contingent upon the condition of Jose Ramirez's wrist. Like you said, kind of awkward slide yesterday, third inning of the ball game. Just got his hand caught underneath him. He stayed in the game originally, and they were talking about on the broadcast. He between innings and warm up throws just felt a little awkward, sailed to throw, that kind of thing. But he stayed in for a few innings. They took him in the dugout between innings, and originally it looked like he just had a cut on his hand. They cleaned him up, put him back out there, but he left in the 6th. It is a mild wrist sprain. Steve Avo came out and said he's day to day. He's not playing today. Didn't expect him to, kind of with a quick turnaround. We'll see about this week. And from there, I mean, he's the biggest contributor to our offense. The one thing I'll say is we thought the season was over last year when Shane Bieber went out in game 6, and that didn't end up being the case. So Gabriel Arias will be playing third today. I expect him to play that a lot in Ramirez's stead. He's got the arm for it, more so than Daniel Schneemann, and hope for a quick recovery. Again, mild sprain shouldn't be the end of the world. The one thing I am concerned with is they're not letting on quite how bad it is, and he tries to play 160 games with a bum wrist. So that's a worst case scenario type thing. It gets you into the question of if they should sit him for a couple weeks rather than have him play that way. But I'm not a medical professional. I don't pretend to be. So who knows really what the case is there. Just hoping for a quick recovery, and he'll be smacking doubles and home runs in no time, hopefully.
he's a switch hitter, right? Which arm does he throw with?
His right. He's a right-handed thrower, and it was his right wrist. So
All right. So anyway, sorry, Sam. Now that you've taken out
Oh,
Jose Ramirez for the year,
well, hey, you hate to see it, especially with a player of his caliber, and obviously, it's sports, so injuries are going to happen. As our color commentator Rex Hudler likes to say, is that teams don't send sympathy cards to each other. Um, but yeah, no, it's obviously a tough injury, and I imagine he'll be back at some point. But I feel after the first two games, I feel all right about where the team's at. The first game, there was definitely some frustration being felt, especially when you have a guy like Hunter Renfro making some bad plays on defense that led to at least one run for the Guardians on Thursday. And when you lose a game in extra innings, one run is a lot. So I think there's definitely some frustration felt, um, some good with the bad on opening day, but it was good to see them bounce back on Saturday and be able to come back, win that game, see some guys like Jonathan India and Carlos Estevez, who gave us a nice little Dragon Ball Z celebration after the
nice.
save. Good to see those guys contribute, who they went out and got in the off season. So I would say for me, I'm feeling about how I expected to feel, and I think the biggest thing is that they won uh, that game on Saturday, and it wasn't because of any kind of Herculean effort by one particular player. So it wasn't Seth Lugo throwing, 8 innings of, one run or zero run ball. It wasn't Bobby Witt Jr. putting the team on his back. It was just the whole team contributing, a lot of guys making plays. And that's how you win games in a baseball season is everyone does a little bit to win the game. So feel good, feel fine, but hoping they can take it home, and wanting to got to figure out who poisoned Tanner Bybee. We need to figure out where he ate on Wednesday night that caused him to miss that opening day start.
Where's the
Nice.
twins? Where's
So-
the twins' rally sausage? That's a real question.
so
That's
there's
what
a there's a story with that. It's public that Tanner Bybee will eat Chipotle before every start, and so I think,
not anymore.
yeah, I don't know how that's going to work on the road. I don't know how the Guardians can canvass every Chipotle within a certain radius of the team hotel to make sure that doesn't happen. But
I have a
Well, I've
feeling. I have a feeling the team's cooks will bring Chipotle to him now. I don't think they're going to risk that.
I've been to some of those Chipotles in some of those not great areas in Kansas City, so him getting food poisoning at Chipotle might make some amount of sense.
I mean, once a year they have some sort of like warning, recall, like Ebola type thing.
Yeah.
E. coli, not Ebola. Two very different things.
Yeah,
I don't
same
know. Just give it a year.
If Chipotle was giving people Ebola, that would not surprise me in the least bit.
AIDS, schizophrenia. You could get anything at Chipotle.
or
Yeah.
gas mileage.
So, I kind of want to talk about the game on Thursday. Class A got hit. That doesn't
hmm
ever he gave up 20% of his total runs from last year. He gave up a home run, didn't he? Or what happened?
No, he gave up. I think he had it was a walk and then a stolen base, a single, and then a sac fly. But that sac fly was not not a short distance from being a home run.
Sure.
So did he give up 5 runs last year then?
In the regular season,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
Oh my
regular
God.
season.
The thing that stuck out to me Thursday is Kansas City came with a really good game plan for him. Like Pasquantino, I think, led off the inning, First pitch, in off the plate, cutter, and he lined it foul. Like, not soft contact. He squared it. It was foul, but like he was ready to go. And I just noticed in that inning, Clasé's in the zone a lot. He can afford to be because of his natural talent. But Kansas City was swinging early because they knew they were going to get strikes. And so as the inning progressed, I think he started mixing in a slider a little bit more. But credit Kansas City for coming with a good game plan and executing on it and scratching out a run.
You know what I'm saying? And then the other impossible thing happened. Bobby Witt got caught stealing by Bo Naylor. I never would have predicted that, I guess.
He's
Go ahead, Sam.
he's had a pretty decent percentage of caught stealing. Bobby has in his career so far. Like he's really fast, but he's also one of those guys who he'll have, you know, he'll have 30 stolen bases, but he'll also have like 12 caught stealings. So last year he had 31 steals and 12 caught stealings. The year before that he had 49 steals and 15 caught. So he'll get thrown out every once in a while. So
I wonder if it's
and
kind of
more often than you'd think.
I wonder if it's kind of everyone knows he's going to try and steal, so they're more hyper aware of it. Type
Yeah,
of
could be. I'm gonna guess it's more he's outworldly athletic and thinks he can do everything, and most of the time he can.
and stealing is more than just being fast.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever played MLB The Show knows that.
Yeah.
Wow.
The only thing I have to add is it was a good quick release by Naylor, which is something he's been working on. So
Yeah.
Got the ball out quick.
Not this was speaking of scary for Cleveland too, like the Santana, like the first or second inning, Naylor and Santana both ran into each other on a ball Santana had no business running in on.
And it's another one of those things because I'm sure we saw the double rundown that the Royals had in the bottom of the eighth inning, which is just one of those moments that with the Naylor and Santana running into each other, it's opening day and you're going to make some mistakes, but it's also like it's one of those moments where it's like if I were on the field, I would be able to do better than what they did. Like I could have run to second base and just stood there. I could have saw that ball go up and say, you know what, I'm gonna sit this one out.
Right.
So it's you have moments like that are frustrating, but it's good that they were able to bounce back.
Then before we get off the series, like who's looked good to you guys on your teams? Who's been looking good? Who's off to a bad start? Who are you starting to worry about only 2 games into the season?
Well, I'll start. Kyle Manzardo's looked very good so far. He went 3 for 4 on opening day with a double, triple, and home run. He missed the easy part of the cycle there. Now, that triple, he got a little bit of help from right field on that.
Yes, he did.
He did leg it out, though. And, hey, certain right fielders misplay balls like that, and they get $800 million. So I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, all those are off lefties as well, which the big thing, he hasn't really gotten an opportunity to face left-handed pitching at the major league level. He's off to a fantastic start with that. Even Saturday, he didn't have a hit Saturday. He did have 2 walks. It just seems like he's seeing the ball really well out of spring training. So see how that kind of progresses. He's going to be an important part of the middle of the lineup, particularly if Ramirez is out for any extended period. But even if he isn't, they need, obviously, to cover the production they lost with Josh Naylor. And then I'll contribute one that's not feeling so great about so far. Paul Sewald allowing a 2-run go-ahead home run yesterday. Not a great addition to the bullpen. 2 games, 1.2% on the way into the season. He's 0-1, and see how he bounces back. Like I said in our preview, a depth guy, somebody that has some experience pitching at the back end. He could be used in a lot of different ways, but results have to be a little bit better.
I did want to just because we found the triple from Manzardo, and it is there's something about the way he runs. He is all chest when he runs, and so yeah, this is the triple.
You roll it.
Decent hit.
And that's
It's funny. He said during the post game interview, like he's thinking middle of the field, and then he goes, "Even though everything I've hit has been pulled down the line so far," but that was a perfect example of that.
There's some truth to that. People who try to pull the ball and hit home runs wind up rolling over it and popping out, stuff like that. But if you look towards the middle of the field opposite way and you just kind of give yourself up to that, then you'll start actually hitting home runs.
You can see the exact moment in that clip where he kind of starts to pull up, and then he just goes, and then just starts running full speed again. Ugh.
Well, I think I was watching I think I did actually see that live, and I think the announcers even noticed like the whoever was in right field was expecting the ball to hit off the pad, and it hit the underneath the pad where it was like just so it kind of like cue balled across the line and snuck past him. But yeah, Manzardo, that is a hideous mustache, hideous.
I thought it actually looked pretty good, all things considered. But
Well,
as far as mustaches go, at least.
nothing matters until like Jake Rogers for the Tigers. That's
a mustache.
Yeah.
like it's good. Whatever Manzardo has, I mean, God bless him. He's
Work in
braver than I
progress.
would. But all right, Oren, the division leading White Sox. Who would have thought?
Great opening day, 8-1 win over the Angels. Like I said, it's probably going to be one of the better games they play this year, but you never know. It's a new team, not necessarily an upgraded team, but it's a new team of a bunch of unknown quantities. So, but they are major leaguers, so once in a while they'll have a game like that. And on opening day, especially, it's really fun. The next day, I think, was a little bit closer to their true colors, where they got shut out and lost 1-0. Nothing particularly spectacular has happened during these games. No one's really stood out that much. There's been, 3 different guys to hit home runs. There's Lenine Sosa, Austin Slater, and Andrew Benintendi. They haven't made any errors. Obviously, only allowing 2 runs in 2 games means that pretty much everyone who's pitched for them has been able to get the job done. If you actually watch the games, though, they weren't like the prettiest 0-run outings. There was a lot of kind of middle pitches that the Angels missed, but all things considered, nothing really stood out in either direction. And it's the White Sox, so any win is going to be extra hype, and any loss is kind of just going to be expected. So, we talked about it in the previews, but Sean Burke, that was one of the only things to kind of take note of in that game. It was because he was his first opening day start after pitching, I believe, 9 innings or whatever it was last year, and he was able to go 6 innings, no runs, no earned runs, no runs at all. So, good for him. That's pretty much that. The Angels look terrible, so I mean, that's a whole other story. I mean, even when they're healthy, they're pretty terrible, but they're really not healthy right now, and so.
I was just looking at the box score for that first game. Tim Anderson went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
Yeah, he looked terrible.
Golden Sombrero day 1.
I don't know why they put him in the 5 slot. Maybe a little confidence booster. Maybe because it's back in Chicago. They want to give him a little undeserved respect. I mean, deserved based on his career, sure, but like obviously these days he doesn't belong in any lineup in the 5 slot. We got to see him. We got to see Moncada. So, a few old guys came through. Tim Anderson got a very nice standing ovation when he came up. Moncada pinch hit later in the game, and he got booed. I don't know. I think they both kind of left us with the same taste in the fans' mouth. So I think the only difference between their at-bats was when it happened in the game. At the beginning of the game, people aren't that drunk yet. They're, more respectful, willing to clap for him. And later in the game, by the time Moncada pinch hit, they've had a few beers and they're ready to boo.
Yeah.
So that was how
Couple-
opening series was gone for the White Sox. The next game starts in a few minutes here. If they could win an opening series, it would be huge. The Will Venable seems to be pretty well liked. The clubhouse vibe seemed to be pretty good. They had a nice Gatorade shower in the clubhouse after the first win, and it looked like everyone was kind of smiling and laughing along. So in a year like this, even small things like that, some good clubhouse chemistry, a lack of errors, a couple decent pitching performances, that constitutes a pretty successful opening series for us thus far.
Can't hate it. Also, Tim Anderson with wearing number 77 doesn't. It looks weird to me. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I didn't look at the Angels roster, but I'm guessing someone already has 7.
Yeah, or it might be retired. Who knows? But
It
anyway,
always
I didn't like it.
it always looks weird when a baseball player wears a big number like that. Like,
Yeah.
what are you, an offensive lineman?
That's what my dad says. My dad's always like, "Oh, why is he wearing 79? That's a football number. It's not a baseball number."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, he's allowed to." So, what?
And then we have
players?
Luis Robert with 88, which I doubt he even knows the context. But if you're gonna choose any high number, that's not the best one to choose. Of all the numbers that have meaning, there's only a handful of them in the first 100, but that's not a great one.
Right. I mean, part of it is because when they're rookies, they just get, if you're not a highly touted prospect, they just hand you any jersey. But if you're on the 40 man and you're a top 100, they might just ask you they'll tell you what's available and they'll make it. But yeah, so Jose Miranda wears number 64 for the Twins, but Randy Dobnik, the Uber driver, wears number 68 because they wouldn't give him one more above. But,
Yeah, I think isn't 69 banned in the NBA? I think it
Is
might
it
be the
really?
same in
That's
baseball.
stupid. That's
think so.
stupid.
I think I think Dennis Rodman tried to wear number 69 at one point, and they wouldn't let him. And so I think they don't let anyone wear 69 in the NBA.
I think because I don't think it. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I know Trevor Bauer. He tried wearing 69 for his team in Japan or wherever he pitched, and they wouldn't let him, so we just wore 96. But anyway,
God,
it's
I
too
hate
much
that
Trevor
guy.
Bauer.
That's the most Trevor Bauer fact of all time.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
Other than when he threw the ball over the batter's eye. And
Is it though?
outstanding.
Because there's so many.
Yeah.
The most Trevor Bauer fact of all time that's also fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll stop that with the Trevor Bauer talk because
Yeah.
it gets real uncomfortable in a hurry.
Yeah. Sam, did you do your players that look good, players that don't look good?
I did not, but I can
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead and
sorry.
do that. I can go ahead and do that real quick. Players who look good, Vinny, obviously, 3-run home run on opening day, added a double to that. Little injury, a little hamstring tweak at the end of spring training, so he's just the DH for right now. But looked really good. And as I've said, I think he's really going to have a breakout season this year. And then I think I don't know. I think he didn't have a hit on Saturday, but I believe he had a walk. So getting getting some good plate appearances under his belt to start the year. There's obviously Salvi and Bobby and all those guys. I'll mention Daniel Lynch, who is a reliever for the Royals. He's been bouncing around the Royals organization for the last several years. He came in on Saturday and had 2 perfect innings in relief, got the win on Saturday, and he is someone who I think is genuinely seems like a really nice guy. He actually called in to the post game show on the post game radio show after the game on Saturday, which he does every now and then. Called in and talked about his performance on Saturday. He's someone who I really like to see succeed because he seems like a nice guy and he's kind of struggled a lot of times in his career. So it's good to see him do well. Players who I'm not high on would be Hunter Renfroe. There was an article written by the Royals beat reporter for MLB.com, Ann Rogers, in spring training, where she talked about how Hunter Renfroe is in the best shape of his life, guys.
Of course.
Really worked on his health
Hmm.
in the off season, and he's just ready to go. Didn't help him field that ball uh, in right field. Did not prevent him from going 0 for 4 on opening day, and then subsequently being benched on Saturday. So we'll see. He has no excuse at this point. He's getting paid $8.5 million this season. He had a player option. So he needs to be a little bit better. And then a name that I'll be saying more, I'm imagining at some point this year of players who are disappointing me would be MJ Melendez. He is 0 for 6 to start the season. So got to do it, MJ. Got to do it. So um, yeah, those would be my two. But again, it's 2 games, so
Right.
we'll see.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm a terrible showrunner here. My bad. Uh, Lee, Detroit had the worst possible opponent to open up the
I'm
season.
so sick of the Dodgers. Can we play? We've played all 3 games against them. It's the only time we're gonna have to play them all season. Thank God. I want to play a normal team. I'm so sick of them. I don't know how good this team is. I don't know how good the Tigers are because it's like, well, they're 0 for 3. It doesn't look great, but also we're playing possibly the greatest MLB lineup that's ever been assembled. So, hey, what the hell do I know, right? I mean, it's infuriating.
Right.
So
Torkelson's
not
look good though.
yeah, Torkelson, he's looked really good. Opening day, he had 4 walks and a solo home run. And it's the first time an MLB player has gotten 4 walks and a home run on opening day. So that's really good. I'm really so and I mean that wasn't not just that. He also had a couple good hits in the other 2 games. So really excited about that. Hope that can stay up. Speaking of surprise, Manuel Margot is actually not useless. Okay, that sounds mean, but he's a super last minute signing because half of our outfield is injured right now, and he's had a couple good hits, so that's really fun. But yeah, so the first game was lost 4-3, which is okay, really close, but also the stat that Tigers fans will know is that they went 0-15 with runners in scoring position. You would like to know how did they score 3 runs while going 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position? It's called sack fly, solo home run. The second game was a little bit more frustrating too because they lost in extras, so that was fun. They could have won that game because they were up 5-3 at the top of the 10th, and then it's called I think it was Mookie Betts' 3-run walk-off homer at the end. So that's annoying. There's also I should have gotten a clip for it, but at the top of the 9th, Manuel Margot went for home and he got not tagged, and then he was called safe, so they would have been up 4-3 at the top of the 9th, and then it was overturned. And I don't maybe you can find a clip of that because I still don't know if this was
I'll find it.
overturned. Yeah, I was listening onto the radio, and Dan Dickerson was beside himself that this call was overturned. And they came out with some more angles that so he was tagged, right? That's not disputable at this point. But it's a question of was he tagged before he hit home plate? And yesterday during the game, Dan Dickerson was on the TV broadcast, and there was a moment where Teoscar Hernandez made a catch and then dropped it, so it was a no catch, right? And they went and they reviewed it, and Dan Dickerson was like, "Oh well, let's see if New York gives them this one anyway." So he was really angry about that call still, and AJ Hinch just said, I'm still not convinced that it was clear and convincing to be overturned." So that's a big thing right now in Tigers world. And then the game yesterday was just it was just kind of a bad loss. What was really fun was that there was a bunch of the Dodgers had a bunch of hits that went like right down the first base or third base side, and just fair, but like out of reach of the defense. So that was annoying. So yeah, starting off 0-3, not great. Tigers have given up 9 home runs, so not great. I don't know which of our pitchers I should be worried about because I'm like, well, Bo Brisky blew a save and gave up a home run, but also going up against 5 future Hall of Famers in this stupid lineup, so maybe that's not that bad. I cannot tell. Skubal didn't have a best day. It was all right. Gave up 4 runs on 2 home runs. Let's see. Jack Flaherty had a really good day, so that's good.
And
Reese
got his World
Olson,
Series ring.
yeah, he got his ring too. That was fun. He got it on. So the Dodgers did their World Series ring things on day 2, which is the day Jack was pitching, but then he got his ring on the third day. But that was a fun moment. But yeah, Kenta Maeda gave up more home runs, but I mean, like pretty much everyone on this pitching in this bullpen did. So it's too hard. It's too early to judge the pitching because going up against a lineup that consists of Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, and Mookie Betts, what are you going to do? You can't walk all of them. So
I did find the Margot clip. So
yeah, if you could play that, because I am still not sure on this.
I was watching.
I'm not really conspiratorial, but I do think that the Dodgers are the only team that this gets overturned against. Otherwise, there's not enough evidence, I don't think.
Yeah, so they called him safe here.
Oh, and he stumbled around third.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that angle isn't really good. He doesn't look like he got tagged there.
Well, okay.
They hit his foot, but he was.
His hand's already down, though.
Yeah.
He probably was out. I just don't think that the replay showed it.
That's the question, right? Is it clear and convincing? There was more angles that came out, like on Twitter or something.
I will say the fact that he stumbled around third base is kind of like a ball don't lie moment, like
right.
If he had just jogged and stayed on his feet, he would have been fine.
Yeah, you can see in the clip Josh Allen turns his back to the line to gain. He really just needs to get his forward momentum right when he takes the snap. I mean, Margot.
But yeah, so that was a moment, and people are still pretty pissed about that. Which I wasn't watching this game live; I was listening to it on the radio. So, I mean, Dan Dickerson on the radio, he was like, "How is this overturned?" He was really angry about it. He was really angry about it still yesterday. So yeah, I'm not really. I'm gonna be like, oh, they gave it to the Dodgers or whatever, but I'm not convinced that it was clear and convincing that it should have been overturned. I guess is my stance.
How long did it take him to review it?
It was like a couple minutes. Yeah. It was. Yeah.
If there's one thing, if they would like to speed up the game, if you can't make a determination within like 30 seconds. The play stands.
Yeah,
why are we taking 5 minutes out of the game to do this?
Yeah, I was driving. I was listening on the radio, and Dan Dickerson was like, "Oh, there's no way they're overturning this. He was safe. Like his foot was tagged, but it was on it." And so they were talking about it for like a solid minute, and then like they overturned it, and so that was
That makes 2 Dans that are incredulous about that. He was safe.
There's another angle where he got tagged on like the back of his thigh, but I still don't know that he was tagged before he reached home. So, but the first 2 games are both games that we easily could have won. The third game is kind of a wash. So that's just been really infuriating.
I don't know if it was this season or if this was a previous season, but apparently it must have been previous because the season just started. But there was an umpire left his mic on after a call got overturned, and he goes up to another umpire and he goes, "Once I send it to New York, there's nothing I can effing do about it." And he's still getting booed or something like that. Then he realized the mic was on. But anyway,
Yeah, in terms of players that are doing real good and players who are not, Spencer Torkelson, like I said, he's looking really good. He's gotten 5 walks so far. 4 of those came on opening day. He's got a home run. He's got a double, got a good couple of hits. So he's looking really good so far. Zach McKinstry, he's also looking really nice, which is a little bit surprising because Zach McKinstry is not exactly known for his prowess at the plate. He's got a good couple of hits, got a few walks too. Um, let's see. In terms Dylan, I want to mention Dylan Dingler. He's our backup catcher. He had a home run and a triple on game 2.
fantastic name.
It's a fantastic name, Dylan Dingler.
That
So
is
it's a
that is like some Boogie Nights shit right there.
yeah. So Dylan Dingler had a dinger, and it went dong. So just you
Dingler.
can,
I want him to succeed so much. Like he's
I
now.
really hope he succeeds. Also, I guess I just really like catchers who play Tigers catchers who wear number 13 because those have been some of my favorite players. Eric Haas, Alex Avila. I don't remember him, but Brandon Inge too. But Dingler wears number 13. So he had a triple and a home run. That was fun. I would like to mention so far the Tigers have had 3 triples, 2 of which have come from our catchers. So, not exactly a position known for their speed, but our catchers have wheels. I'm not going to talk about the pitching at all because, like I said, the lineup has 5 future Hall of Famers. It's hard to really evaluate that fairly. So, not really going to mention that. What I will mention on terms of players I'm worried about, Colt Keith not having a great start. He's 0 for 10, had a couple walks, but he's struck out 5 times. So that's not really great. A little. He had a decent spring. He didn't have a lot of power in the spring, but he was hitting all right. But yeah, he's just not making good contact at all so far. And yeah, struck out 5 times in these first 3 games. So there's that. Yeah.
Well, for the Twins, it's less than stellar. They're 0-2. Could have won opening day, had a couple plays go against them, and they haven't been playing bad baseball, but it certainly hasn't been crisp. Like the offense seems eerily similar to what it was last year, where it was very boom or bust. So they've scored 4 total runs throughout the 2 games. They've given up 10. The top of the lineup has done absolutely nothing. So right now, leading off for the Twins is Wallner, Correa, and Buxton. They are a combined 1 for 24 in the first 2 games. Not stellar. Correa, that's a little deceiving. He's actually looked pretty good. He's hitting the ball hard, but he's hitting the ball on the ground. And so far, St. Louis's defense has been really good. Correa has been a foot either way, but he's been of a ball going a foot farther, and he would have had a single or a possible double. He's been stinging it, it just hasn't. Wallner and Buxton, just pop-ups. Like, those will eventually correct. Nothing really, like, the sky is falling, but it's hard to win a game when your top 3 is hitting less than, 050. On the other side, you have Trevor Larnach and Ty France. Looked pretty good. Ty France is just kind of hitting line drives all over the place. He got absolutely robbed. I'm going to pull it up here in a bit. But he got absolutely robbed by Victor Cruz, who apparently has 99% percentile speed. He, one sec, I'm pulling it up here, and it's hard to talk and do this at the same time. So I'm just going to pull up this spot. So in this clip, so Ty France, guy on second and first, 1 out, and bottom of the 6th, they're down 4-2. So this would have tied the game, and it was fun if it would have been anyone else, but just absolutely got on his horse and then gave it back. Then all the runners had to retreat because everyone thought that they were going to score. So that kind of sucked, but God, that was a really nice play. So I can't even hate it. So one sec, I just want one more look at this.
Who is that in center for them?
Victor Scott, the second.
Oh,
The second, not junior.
No, because I think if I don't know this, but like if apparently if you take your grandfather's name, you are considered the second, not a junior.
Oh,
It's
Who knows?
also I think you can just do it however you want
That's fair.
because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes the second, but his dad is Patrick Mahomes. So I
Who
there's
knows?
no rules. You can just
Yeah, I
do
mean,
whatever
you
you
could name
want.
your kid like, Mike, whatever the eighth. No one's gonna stop you, even if there weren't like seven
This is
Mikes
true.
before him.
There are better things adults can do with their time than worry about if you're first or the junior, or junior or the
Uh-huh.
second. But for the pitching has looked iffy. I mean, they've looked good, but again, they're not crisp yet. Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan have been the two that have started. Pablo, his velocity was all right. His control was fine. He kind of had that. The St. Louis is kind of a high contact team, and they had a couple balls scoot through, and then inevitably, like Nolan Arenado came up and has looked great. Lars Nootbaar came up and they've hit a couple doubles. I think even a home run or so. So when high contact teams get a couple get a couple hits strung together, that's how it works. I think Cleveland, and then I remember like Detroit a couple of years ago was really annoying too. You can't seem to get an easy out, and you get four of them in an inning. It happens. There was a balk called on Pablo early on in the first game where it was pretty questionable balk. They had a guy picked off. They must have had a tell or something on him because he before he even went into his windup, he they took off. They had him picked off, and as he was turning around to throw to second, he was called a balk. The same scenario happened the next inning. Pablo turned around and instead of getting a balk called, he threw it into center field. So that's not stellar. You take those two runs off the board, and then you have Ty France maybe having that hit fall. They might be 1-1 right now, but we'll see. As far as who's looked really good in the bullpen, Louis Varlin throwing 99, probably going to top out at 100 here pretty soon. He has 3 Ks over I think he has like 6 batters face and has like 3 Ks. He's looked very good, but in general, kind of a womp womp for the Twins so far. All right, so with all of that, the standings, and take it while you can, Chicago. They technically sit at the top of the division because they had the highest run differential, +6 because they destroyed the Angels on the first game and then only gave up 1 run, so can't beat the start. Then we have Cleveland and Kansas City splitting, and then you have the Twins only avoiding the cellar because Detroit has lost one singular game after that. So
yay! Can't. Oh, God, I'm so sick of the Dodgers. At least we play normal teams from now on. That's the only time we have to play them.
Hey,
Who's the Tigers' next series?
Seattle, and then we play the White Sox after them.
the Royals won a game at Dodger Stadium last year, so you have no excuse.
Hey, last season we beat the Dodgers twice. So last season we did. But yeah,
and now you'll never win against them again.
I know. It's
Oh. Don't go in the bullpen.
Uh-oh.
Sorry,
What do you-
I'm watching the game, and Nolan Jones just went crashing through the fence and almost
Ooh.
almost fell down in the bullpen.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he allowed Vinny Pasquantino of all people to get a triple. So yeah.
It's the return
You
of
But
the this year.
he
gave
jumped.
RDH. You gave RDH a triple. We're going to give yours one too, I guess.
Yeah,
Courtesy
he
of right field.
jumped right in front of the door that opens to the bullpen, and he fell backward, and it opened the door to the bullpen.
Sabotage.
Yeah.
First,
Push the Bolt
First
right
the
down
food
the-
poisoning. Now this.
Uh-huh. Anyway, not to interrupt.
Oh, that's fine. So with the new season, there's actually a couple new TV rollouts that go on. Tigers are still sticking with FanDuel Sports. I'm not sure who Cleveland is on, and then Chicago's kind of has their own network. But the Twins and the Guardians actually rolled out their own streaming product, which has taken baseball an eternity to do non-blackout streaming. But hey, it's here. Just wanted to see if anybody had any thoughts on that, if they've watched it. I certainly have some because it was an absolute mess on day one for the Twins. But I don't know what.
The Sox, they have their own streaming service too now. Day one, it was a mess. It got better like after the first couple innings, but at first, like the saturation was all off. There was like random like lights blinking in and out, and it was like really like, pretty unwatchable. But seemed to have strained it out.
Sure.
I'll say from my perspective, the trick here was to had to work during the opening day game so that you couldn't watch it live anyway, and just stream the radio. But by the time I got home, I kind of had some personal stuff happen. I didn't actually see the end of the game or hear the end of the game. I ended up watching like sixth inning on MLB.TV, Cleveland Guardians.TV rather. Sorry. And at that point, it was working like a dream. So something I've been advocating and hoping for quite a while. I know here locally, I don't know how it was for you guys, but anybody that does have cable, they didn't announce anything until Thursday morning.
Yeah.
People were like, what's going to happen? But quietly, if you turned on channel 80 at my parents' home on like Tuesday, there was just the big Cleveland Guardians logo going. So the secret was out at that point. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it works moving forward. They needed to clearly get the cobwebs out first thing on opening day.
So then there's the Twins. And they have had TV drama for the last, 93 years, it feels like. This is at least the third off season in a row that they've had some type of issue going on with the god dang TV situation. So, like Dan just said, so MLB was negotiating the rights with DirecTV, Comcast, all of that they could put the channel on the same tier as FanDuel Sports Network was what the rumor was. But they waited until 7 hours before the Twins made their first pitch to announce the channel it was going to be on. So if you were one of those subscribers that didn't know or didn't have that, you had to change your package or like sign up or get Twins TV or whatever you would like it to be. And by the time they got to the game and everyone started streaming, MLB's network crashed. Like, people couldn't log in. They couldn't, if you did log in, there was some random blackouts for some people. But maybe one of the more embarrassing, now there's nothing the Twins could have done about that, or even about on the literal opening moments of Twins TV, they bring in this beautiful package narrated by Bob Costas saying just how great the Cleveland Guardians are. And halfway through the feed, somebody caught it and like they switched to an interview. But yes, on the debut edition, on the first stream you have, the team who has essentially owned you over the last decade gets promoted on your own streaming network. So that was fantastic.
I like Dan's reaction to that. You're like, I don't see the problem.
The one other funny thing about that is Costas isn't exactly beloved in this city anymore. From a couple of years ago, was broadcasting.
No one likes Costas.
Playoff series. Well, everybody always feels like the national TV broadcasters are against him. Well, he was pretty bad a couple of years ago when we had him. So the irony of him being the voiceover for that just also struck me.
Eye doctors love Bob Costas.
I don't mind him. He just kind of aged out. Like he went past his shelf life, but it was like Joe Buck. I also don't mind Joe Buck too, so maybe take that with a pinch of salt. Like I don't know.
Joe Buck has gotten better since moving to ESPN, which is also code for he's gotten better now that he doesn't do baseball anymore. Now that I only have to see him for one Monday Night Football game a week, he's palatable.
He has a good voice for baseball. If only he knew what to say.
Right.
I actually miss him because he was just for years the voice of October for me.
Mhm.
I think it's more nostalgia than actual.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I'm
But-
thinking too. Like you hear his voice, and it just sounds like the postseason. You know.
Yeah.
Not to stay on the Twins, but what the fantastic rollout that they had with Twins TV. A couple days before opening day, it came out that the Twins have set up an asking price, and it turns out they also may not be so good on the business side. So, from Dan Hayes Ken Rosenthal, and Brittany Grioli, I hope I pronounced that right. Not that she's ever going to hear this. The poll ads are seeking 1.7 billion for the Twins and have had more than 425 million dollars in debt.
That's
Which,
not great.
right, it isn't. Take a good look at Joel Pohlad, this young, dapper, cool owner. The article's interesting, and like, as much I like the direction the actual Twins franchise is, and as in the on-field product, I feel good. They have good prospects coming up. They should have a contention window for what the business side seems like it's an absolute disaster, and that kind of this headline kind of proves it. In in the article, they explain that the Pohlads have owned the team for about 40 years, but of the 425 million that they've racked up in debt, most of that has been since COVID, which okay, fine. I'm purely speculating here, so like maybe don't take my word for this at all. I have a real hard time adding up how they can be $425 million in debt since COVID, or even 325, when they already get a check from Major League Baseball for $100 million for national TV rights. They get their own revenue through selling tickets. They get about 2 million fans a year. Was once 3 million, but they've actually killed fan morale. Now they have to struggle to get to 2 million. And there is some revenue sharing within that. So their rule used to be we're going to spend 50% of revenue on player payroll. I don't believe they've been doing that for quite some time, especially since they slashed 30 million a couple years ago. I don't see where the 425 comes from unless the poll ads, and this is where I'm really speculating, their other businesses are not doing that well, and I'm not going to put it past a billionaire to put some debt into the Twins bucket as they're trying to sell it. But anyway, that's me speculating. Maybe don't believe that at all. Whichever. I'm sick of this family. The bold thing. It takes a set of balls to ask for 1.7 billion. They've turned down someone for 1.5 billion already. They're going to stick with 1.7 billion, which in itself is fine, but they're going to do it because the 1.5 isn't enough because of the $425 million in debt that they've racked up. To say to someone that my crappy management over 4 years, Joe Pohlad, like he got handed down from his uncle, that he's been at the helm of the Twins, that he has racked up a third of the Twins' value in debt, and now he's telling a new owner, you have to help me pay that down, take some stones. Don't know how that would work if this was, say, a house, saying you haven't updated the foundation or the pipes are leaking and breaking, but I'm just going to make you pay for it, so I'm going to raise the price of the house to do it. But maybe the most depressing part of the article is it's reported that Joe Pohlad would preferably like to stay the Twins owner. It's just the rest of his family is pressuring them as voted to sell. If possible, he would like to stay on. I don't know what world he is living at where a new owner is going to keep the old owner around, even if they're going to the reality is they would sell a minority share. Joe Pohlad would buy up some of the other the grandchildren, the other siblings out of their stocks, but oh, it's a mess. I don't know.
Doesn't it just essentially make the price 1 or 2.1 or whatever?
They don't want the full thing. So what they're saying is There's a couple ways you can do it because the new owner can just inherit the debt, which is what. So like the debt itself is not. It's not the highest in baseball. It's probably the highest for like the Twins market size, but a lot of teams already carry debt, and even like the Pirates somehow also reported that they're also losing money year over year. But so yeah, you can, or you can negotiate how much debt is going to be transferred over, or yes, you can just sell the whole add the debt included, and then increase the price. They're looking for 1.7 billion. So then I guess their take home would be around 1.3, 1.2 billion. Either way, it seems ridiculous to me.
Those poor billionaires are only going to get 1.3 instead of 1.5 billion dollars.
Oh, but they're splitting it up
you're-
amongst 20 grandchildren.
Your mistake, Eric, is expecting a billionaire sports owner to feel shame or embarrassment as it relates to what they're doing with money.
You're not wrong.
That's not something that happens.
I am so sick of billionaires crying poor. Like, for God, you're not. This is not a real problem for you, and to like increase the price or to stick with your price because you yourself have done such a shitty job managing the financial part of the team. Get the f out of here. Like, what are we talking about?
How do you get that much debt in the first place? It's almost $500 million. That's insane.
That's where
That's
I'm
what.
at with this. Like the optics of this, if you're Joe Polat, are not pretty. Like, okay, so from my understanding, he was given control of the team, and since he's been given control of the team, they've racked up this debt, right?
Essentially, yeah.
This is essentially under his watch. Additionally, now we were just talking about the TV deal here. Whether we like it or not, these teams going to this direct-to-consumer streaming service is not going to create a revenue increase. It's going to create a revenue decrease because of the absurd cable deals that were going on previous to it. So it just became harder for them not to rack up more debt. So those things combined, I would hope he sells if he's this bad at staying in the black.
What other businesses do the Polads own?
It's a lot of like financial real estate. So there's if you look at like the skyline, if they ever show above right field above the Budweiser sign, they have a huge building they just put up, and it just they've been selling off a couple businesses leading up to this. So the speculation is that they themselves do not have liquid cash, and they are not forced to sell the Twins, but it's now the grandchildren of the guy that originally bought the team, and some of them just don't care, and like their name in Minnesota is not related to good things, so I think they just kind of want to separate from it, and it just I don't know, it's disgusting. Like what the Poleheads are doing right now, I feel no sympathy. And the weirdest thing is I don't even think they're the worst owners in the division. Like I think Chicago, and I would even throw Cleveland in there, because if Cleveland would ever spend any amount of normal money, I mean, the division would have to look out. And then looking back, bigger picture, they might not even be bottom 10 in baseball. When you look at the John Fishers and the Rob Nuttings or the whatever's going on in Miami and Chicago, I don't know. I'm sick of this entire crop of MLB owners.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just glad that the Royals got a halfway decent owner in their last sale. So
And spent
and
money,
spent.
invested money into the team. What a thought.
Yep. And not only that, John Sherman, he paid the minor leaguers during the COVID season,
Mm.
right?
That's cool.
He paid to get rid of Mike Matheny. He paid to get rid of Hunter Dozier. So it's not just investing in necessarily the bringing players in, but he's spent money in a lot of other areas too. So
Yep. That
We
was
can
like the first
we can
couple.
do the Dolan show at some point. That's probably its own thing, but I feel two ways about that. The spending is obviously an issue, but there's a lot of stability that they've brought that I think they need to get credit for as well. It's a deeper conversation for sure.
Fair enough. And I just know the spending of and what, like, I don't know. Have they ever been?
You
Over
asked me
100
about
million.
Hedges, how the public here feels about him. I said 60-40. I'm in the vast minority on that take with the Nolans. Like most people don't trust him, don't like him.
I mean, at least they hire the right people, though. Like,
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. They hire the right people and they get the heck out of the way. So
All right. Well, unless anybody has any other billionaire rants they'd like to go on, I
I'm
think we
not
can.
one. That's my rant.
You're not one. Okay, great. Yeah, that's it. Why can't I be one of those billionaires? Now let's talk about a much more fun subject. The Yankees are dirty cheaters, and we should hate them. So yesterday they hit, I don't know, 1,000 home runs off of the Brewers, and during the middle of that, Michael K maybe they zoomed in on Jazz Chisholm's bat and say that the Yankees have redesigned some bats, and they look more like torpedoes, so that there's more wood at the barrel. The speculation is that the Yankees are dirty cheaters for doing this, and I was just kind of wondering if we had any thoughts, even though it's not Central related, or if we care at all.
So
So
I've. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll go ahead. I did a little bit of looking into this. And a couple things I would like to mention is that the rules for the bats are not horribly specific. Basically, they say that the bat has to be under, I think it's like 41 inches. The bat has to be under a certain width. There are some kind of general dimensions that are kind of given for what the bat needs to be. It also says that the bat needs to be one solid piece of wood. All that's fine and good. These bats obviously comply to all those standards. However, the rules also state that any bat that is used in a game has to be signed off on by the league, essentially. So, in order for the Yankees to have used these bats, the league or whomever it was looked at them and said, gave them the okay, gave them the thumbs up. So it's not as though the Yankees, under the cover of darkness, snuck some bats into the game, into the dugout. So that's not to say that the MLB could, you know, going forward, say that they're not allowed to use those bats. But at least for right now, they got the approval to use them.
I don't
I think
think
I.
MLB anything that helps offense. I think MLB is going to either try to find a way to allow, or I think in this case, rightfully should allow. Um, like you said, they're within the rules technically, and it's the sort of thing that I'm actually kind of excited about because you don't see there hasn't been much innovation in the bat space in a long time, at least from what we can see. So this might be an exciting way of just the game evolving, and it doesn't, to me, in my opinion, it doesn't seem to be taking away from any essence of the game, which is my issue with a lot of rule changes or equipment changes or anything like that. So, assuming that this is all above board, I think we're going to start seeing this everywhere with every team. It's just a matter of how pitchers react.
Does anyone think that? I know a couple years ago, like they thinned out the handles because they wanted more wood, like where the ball hit, and then you had a couple more cracked bats. I feel like there's going to be 1,000 different cracked bats with these.
I mean, they're not changing the handle is like the weakest part of the bat, right? If we're thinking of structurally as the thinnest part. I mean, this is changing the barrel part, so I don't know how it affected that much. It's thinning
Right.
out the top, right, and giving more wood at the middle. I don't
Right.
think that would change how it.
So I guess my point is like the ounces need to stay within like a certain limit, and the length needs to stay within a certain limit. So within that, they're just moving the wood to where they want you to hit. If you do not hit in the barrel and you hit off the trade marker closer to the handle, there's now less wood there than there was before.
Mm-hmm.
there may be some just unintended consequence here that we aren't aware of. Something like that. That's a good example of changing the nature of the structure of the bat. We won't know until practice. It wouldn't surprise me if there's something though.
Yeah,
I would
Whether or not it
imagine
becomes a safety issue is really the bigger thing there. If it's not a safety issue, let them innovate, in my opinion.
And I would imagine this is not something that the Yankees have just now discovered. Like, if there were some better way to make a bat that just allowed you to hit a home run every time, like, I think that would have been discovered before the year of our Lord 2025. Um,
yeah.
so I'm guessing, like with anything, there's going to be pros and cons to this, and it's going to be, you know, if the sword has +5 attack, then it's also going to have -5 agility or whatever. So
And
Yeah, I think it's
you'd think that the downside would come from pitches on the outside corner because where what used to be the biggest part of the bat is obviously they had to shrink it down a little to keep the volume or whatever of it the same. So that could be what why it doesn't work. And if you remember a few years ago, do you remember the axe handle bats where
Yeah.
the knob at the end wasn't like straight like that? It was kind of sloped down so that you could hold it in a way that was supposed to shorten your bat path. Those were kind of a gimmick, kind of a fad. I actually had one of those bats, and it was just a normal bat. If you could hit, then it didn't matter. If you couldn't hit, then it didn't matter. Um, but it'll be interesting to see whether or not these are a fad or these are, kind of here to stay.
I wonder if it'll like more fly balls will become home runs, but less line drives will turn into hits, type
Well,
of thing.
I also kind of wondered. So, a point like 2019, the ball was juiced. 2021, it clearly wasn't. So, like, we might not even really know if these bats work because if the ball is just maybe a little bit more juiced than last year's ball, they're gonna blame these bats. But it could. There's a lot of noise within it too. But we'll see. It's
Yeah,
something fun to track.
we need more sample size. Also, I think I saw that like only Jazz Chisholm and like maybe I think it was Austin Wells have the different bats. Like it's not like all the Yankees players have different bats now, and they suddenly gained the ability to hit 5 runs every game. I think it was just we noticed it, and they also hit 9 home runs at the same time. So I mean, who knows? Maybe 3 weeks from now we'll be like, wow, the Yankees haven't hit any home runs all year. Like it's we need a little bit more sample size to see. Though I would say that, and also I've got the Yankees Brewers game on in the background. They've already hit like 3 home runs. So
Yeah, Judge had another, right?
yeah,
Ooh.
Jazz Chisholm had one too.
I think there's a really interesting end game here where, with all these high speed cameras they have now, you just, okay, well, we know you hit the ball on this part of the bat most often, where that's where we're going to load the density of the bat to. And it could be on the label like they are with some of these guys that made the news, but it could be towards specially tailored golf clubs are a thing. You make it to a point where it's specially tailored baseball bats for these guys, and that could make a fairly big difference potentially.
It could also be a thing that only affects 10% of players or something like that. Like not every player needs to have the weight shifted or whatever. Like most players hit it at the thickest part anyway. Or
I'm watching the Royals game in the background right now, and Hunter Renfroe just hit a ball that fell exactly between Stephen Kwan and the Guardians center fielder. They both looked up, stopped, looked at each other, and then the ball landed exactly between them.
Of course. Gotta
First
love
week of
it.
the season, guys.
Yeah.
But it's not an error because nobody
It's
touched
not, I was going to say it's not an error because it can't be an error if no one touches the ball.
it. How dumb.
Yeah, third.
All right. So, moving on, we're going to go over the schedules and then we're going to predict who we have two Central League Central League matchups this week. But I kind of just wanted to go over the schedules, starting with the White Sox and what their games look like this week. They play two Central teams. They start off with the Twins starting tomorrow for 3, and then they finish. They're off Thursday, and then they finish next weekend with the Tigers. The Guardians are on the West Coast. I couldn't stay up for these games. They play the Padres starting tomorrow through Wednesday, and then they finish off with the Angels. So, other than just the really late games, a couple 4 p.m. games, the Royals are going to have what, 3 straight home openers. They just had one. Oh, actually, they just had their own. They had
Yeah.
the Brewers, so I take that back. They just have two in a row. They have the Brewers home opener, and then they have Baltimore, which should be kind of a hard series for them. And then the Twins meet the White Sox next, and then they finish next weekend with the Astros. So I don't know how excited I am for that. The Tigers, also on the West Coast, or at least for the first half, they're going to play Seattle, and then they finish off their week with the White Sox. So, Oren, how are you feeling about facing the two central teams this week?
Um, I'm gonna say we get humbled by the Twins. I think we're gonna get swept by them. You'd like to take at least one game, but knowing what this team is and knowing how things feel, I think there might be a few good games in there, but I see the Twins sweeping. And then I'm going to go ahead and say we'll take 2 of 3 from the Tigers. I think they're a little demoralized having to start the season against LA. They've got, a series against Seattle before then. Um, the Mariners are no Dodgers, but they have some good pitchers. So if it's, it could be frustrating for the Tigers' bats. Maybe we'll catch them at a time of bad morale, and we'll take 2 out of 3 from them just to, screw with them early in the year. And the Twins, I think we'll use all our wins on those 2 games against the Tigers if we can even pull off of that. But that's my prediction.
All right. Second in the division, we have Cleveland. They have Padres and Angels. Dan, how you feeling?
Well, it's kind of weird start of the year with going to Kansas City, then bouncing right back to the West Coast. I think that initially could be a little bit of an issue in that first series, especially if Ramirez isn't back yet. I would anticipate that they'll take 2 of 3 in that second series, but lose 2 of 3 in the first.
All right. Next up, Sam, the Royals with the Brewers and the Orioles.
Yeah, I think the Brewers are in a similar situation to the Tigers, that they're gonna be coming off a series where you play one of the better teams in the MLB and just get the crap knocked out of you to begin the year. But they might be down a little bit coming into that series, but obviously it's their home opener, so that'll be interesting to see how they can bounce back. And then it's odd because I believe last year the Royals played the Orioles right out of the gate. Um, I think it was the second series of the year last year. So I a little bit of a repeat of the schedule from last year, having the Orioles right off the bat, which is again another going to be another team that's going to compete in the AL Central. So I think 2 kind of difficult series coming up for the Royals.
All right. For the Twins, the White Sox, I kind of agree with Oren. I think the Twins should take 2 out of 3. The Astros, though, it seems like the Astros are kind of running on fumes. This is not the Astros of a couple years ago. This is like the Astros near retirement age. That said, Jordan Alvarez is still incredibly scary. Altuve's good until proven otherwise. They might have some questions on some pitching, but I it seems like the Astros, they've actually taken the Twins out of the playoffs the last 2 times that they've been in 2020 and then also in 2023. So I just maybe am having Vietnam flashbacks over them. So I'm gonna guess that they probably lose 2 out of 3, but who's to hope? It all depends on the matchups, and it's still early. So I guess the cliche is the bad teams don't know they're bad yet, and the good teams don't know they're good yet either. So it's probably the good time and also a bad time to play them as well. So, and last up in the cellar of the division, looking to make up games, Lee, how with the Mariners and the White Sox.
Yeah, so I think for the Mariners, looking at last season a bit, we took 5 out of 6 from the Mariners. We should be able to take 2 out of 3 from the Mariners this season. Going up here, I could see it going either way. To be honest, I could see we should be able to get one win out of the Mariners for sure. I think there's going to be 2 out of 3. We could sweep them. We could lose 2, but I think it's going to be 2 out of 3 because I like to note for this, it's going to look a little rough for the Tigers for the first month or so because we're down 2 of our better hitters. We don't have Matt Reeling and we don't have Parker Meadows. Those are 2 of our better bats. We have Ryan Kreidler starting in center field. So it's going to be a bit rough. And then, but coming back home for the home opener against the White Sox, again, should be able to take 2 out of 3, I think, from there. I see us dropping 1, but realistically, 2 out of 3. So I'm going to say we win both series.
All right. All right, well, that's our schedule. So what we're going to do, because we are mainly focused on the AL Central, we're actually going to see how good we know our teams versus head-to-head matchups. So we had one matchup to start off the season. That's obviously Cleveland and Kansas City. Luckily, because we did our season previews a bit late and maybe posted those after opening day, we never actually got our first predictions in. But luckily, Kansas City and Cleveland did this the mercy of tying it 1-1. So before the show, we did do our predictions for who's going to win basically today and the series, and Lee, Oren, Sam, and Dan all took Cleveland, which then I felt bullied that I had to at least cheer for the Royals, just to be a little bit different. So that's we'll go over that next week. But for this week, we're all going to predict. First up, we're going to talk about the White Sox and the Twins. And Lee, I think you've already Lee, who do you have?
I think that one's going to go Twins.
Do we want to do this? Is maybe an on screen, I guess, like meeting, but do we want to give like bonus points if we predict a sweep?
No,
Double
let's
or
not.
nothing.
Let's
No,
not
it'll
complicate it.
All
It'll
right,
get too complicated because then you could just predict a sweep every time, and if you happen to be right, then you'd get the bonus point.
fair enough. All right, Lee with the Twins. Oren, I think you've already said yours, but go ahead and repeat it.
Yeah, for today, for the Twins White Sox series. Is that what's going on?
Yes,
Yeah, sweep by the Twins.
even a sweep. All right, Sam.
The Twins. Whenever I pick the White Sox, you'll get more explanation out of me. But the Twins.
Dan.
Eric's buddy Chris Paddock starts tomorrow for the Twins.
That does hurt.
Sean Burke starts the next day for the White Sox. White Sox win 2 out of 3.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ouch, my feelings. Just right there.
Sorry, Eric.
Oh, no, you're not. You're not at all.
I like that prediction.
Well, so
I
I'm
would
going to go
love
Twins.
for that to happen. That would be hilarious.
Well, like, Chris Paddock is by far the biggest question mark, and I don't think he's going to be in the rotation at the end of April, but I really don't want that to start with literally the worst team. Plus, I'm going Twins. I think they're going to take 2 out of 3. They do have, after that, they have Simeon Woods Richardson, who is solid, and then they start, the third game would be by Pablo. So, but yes, Chris Paddock implosion and just a moderately bad start by Simeon Woods Richardson would kind of doom them. But it is nice that if we all have a time where everyone picks the same team, we're probably going to get it wrong, such as the baseball gods are.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Lee, the White Sox play your Tigers.
Yeah, I think the Tigers are going to take 2 out of 3 for this one. They could sweep, but I think more 2 out of 3 because, again, our hitting is looking a bit rough because we got a bunch of injuries there.
Oren?
2 out of 3, but for the White Sox over the Tigers. I think we'll capitalize on these lack of bats and maybe ride some decent starting pitching that we've started the year with and pull out a couple there.
Sam?
The Tigers. Whenever I pick the White Sox, you'll get more explanation out of me.
For now,
I can't wait for you to go all season, and then on the last series, you give us, I just feel like it.
But for now, the explanation is it's the White Sox. So.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, I think they won 4 series last year, and it was only like games where like one series against like a National League team, like they took 2 of 3 from the Nationals, like 2 of 3 from the Cardinals, and like randomly swept the Rays. and then that was like it. Other than that, we
You
lost.
won the last 2 series though,
Oh,
because
yeah,
you
then
swept
we
the Angels,
swept
and then
the
you
Angels
took
and then
you
won a
took 2
series
out of
against
3
the
out of the Tigers because you capitalized on the hangover game.
Yeah. Other than that, those were like the only series you win. You could count them on one hand. That's not a good season.
Dan?
The White Sox carry that momentum into Detroit to spoil opening day for the Tigers and then lose the next 2.
Psych. Okay, I'm starting to. Okay, I'm assuming that was Tigers then.
Tigers. Sorry for the longer explanation. Tigers.
I'm a stupid man. You can't confuse me like that. It's so easy to do. I kind of like the White Sox. Again, they don't know they're bad yet, so I think they're going to win a couple series. It can't go worse than last year, so I'm picking
You know,
Chicago.
I think it's just possible that they might know how bad they are.
This is true,
I think
but
that's the issue is they know how bad they are.
they don't feel
Yeah.
it yet. So, to recap, for the White Sox and Twins, everyone but Dan chose the Twins. Dan is cheering for the White Sox, and for the Detroit White Sox game, Lee took the Tigers, Oren took the White Sox, Sam, and Dan took the Tigers, and then I took the White Sox as well. So we'll see how well we do. We'll have 3 series to talk about next week when we add those up to see how right we are, or how wrong I am probably, because I'm the only one that picked Kansas City this week. So with that, does anyone have any closing thoughts before we end this?
We wanted to do the highlights, right? The clips.
Oh, we can. I kind of showed them all,
Did
except
you?
for Kreidler.
Yeah, I wanted to do this one. It's not a super spectacular catch. It's a pretty good catch, except this is the first time Ryan Kreidler has started a professional game in center field. He's a shortstop. So, yeah, everyone's like, well, I guess it's our center fielder now because we have injuries. So,
Who is Kreidler? What's his pedigree? Was he a prospect at all, or someone who got fired?
I think he was a prospect. He's bad. Okay, so his deal is that he comes up and plays shortstop whenever we have an injury or because he could do infield stuff. He's basically a good AAA player who bats 100 or 150 at the major league level. But I'm looking at his baseball reference page because I don't remember. We drafted him in 2019, the 4th round pick. But he's basically he basically stays in Toledo, except for like a month every year when we need him because if someone gets injured.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now it was like, well, I guess he could play center field now because he did a couple of games in center field in spring training, and he actually hit decently during that time. So he hasn't hit decently in the majors so far this year, but
How old is he?
it's he is 27.
Yeah, late bloomer. I'm going to show this, and maybe does Tarek Skubal have the tightest pants in baseball?
Definitely.
Jesus, man, go up a size.
I'm worried about his sperm count.
So he was actually asked about this at one point. He said that he likes the tight pants because he doesn't like the fabric getting caught because he does the high leg kick. So he doesn't like it getting if it's looser. It gets he doesn't like how it feels, I guess.
It looks like the piping on the side of those pants is a little bit wider than normal. Is that a small uniform tweak for this year, or is that just the camera angle or something?
I think it might just be the angle. We didn't do any big changes, so.
Right. Anyway, the actual highlight.
I remember Verlander used to always wear some tight pants out there.
Yeah, that's a nice catch.
That is a nice catch for someone who hasn't
also
played.
Also, nice job by the right fielder to dance out of the way. That's always the underrated part of those catches.
Right.
That's a nice job of him to catch it right in the palm and not have it bounce directly off.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for somebody who's never done it before. You can't.
And he started all the way in left center field for that.
Yeah, so it was a really good catch. So I guess he's a good enough defensive center fielder.
So I think, we might as well have a AL Central play of the week. This has got to be it, right? Were there any other really good defensive plays?
Not that pop up in my mind. There were a couple good defensive plays, but nothing. We can give it to that.
Well, the
I
week's
like
still
it.
young, but yeah.
All right. And for those of you who are listening to this in your ears and not watching it on YouTube, go watch there to see the highlights we talked about there. If you are watching on YouTube, I don't know, do the thumbs up thing, all that good stuff. And with that, we're probably going to have a bit more of a fixed schedule. You'll see us once a week or so, maybe Monday. We're kind of playing it by ear. Scheduling 5 human being schedules can be kind of tricky sometimes, but expect us once a week from here on out. And with that, that'll do us for today. Thank you guys for listening or watching.
Peace.